It started like a quiet storm no one saw coming. One week, Candace Owens was smiling through studio lights, debating politics and family values with her usual fire. The next, whispers began swirling from inside Turning Point USA, whispers that something had cracked between Candace and the executive circle she once defended. By the time the first leaked clip hit Twitter, the internet had already split in two. On one side were the loyal fans, defending Candace's unfiltered truth. On the other were TPUSA insiders, claiming she had crossed a line that could never be undone. Candace didn't just go off. One anonymous staffer said in a late-night voice memo that spread like wildfire. She destroyed them publicly, personally, and without warning. The alleged blow-up began during what was supposed to be a private board meeting in Phoenix. Multiple sources claim tensions had been brewing for weeks, especially around Charlie Kirk's recent controversies. Kirk, the face of TPUSA, had been under fire for an internal dispute involving misused funds and questionable campaign endorsements. For a while, everyone inside the organization had kept quiet, but when Candace was asked to appear on a live stream to help calm the narrative, things spiraled into chaos. According to witnesses, Candace didn't just refuse, she turned the entire room upside down. She accused top executives of hypocrisy, favoritism, and protecting Charlie at the expense of everyone else. People in the meeting described her tone as fierce, her voice trembling between anger and heartbreak. "You all built a platform on truth," she allegedly said, "but now you can't handle it when the truth is about one of your own." By the end of that meeting, 3 senior members reportedly walked out. A recording, though not confirmed authentic, captured her saying, "You want loyalty? Earn it. Don't weaponize it." That one line hit every corner of conservative media. Twitter lit up, Reddit threads exploded. Fans who had followed Candace for years couldn't believe what they were hearing. As rumors grew, Candace went live on her own channel the next night. Her eyes were tired but determined. She didn't name names, but her message was sharp enough to draw blood. "Some people think power means control," she said, "but real power comes from telling the truth when everyone else is afraid to." That clip alone racked up over 5 million views within hours. Behind the scenes, TPUSA staff scrambled. Emails leaked. Insiders panicked. And even some of Candace's closest allies began choosing sides. "She's burning bridges that built her," one friend told the Daily Wire. But others said she was finally breaking free from the boys' club that had kept her muzzled for too long. Now, the conservative world is holding its breath. What started as a whisper of tension has turned into a full-blown war inside one of America's most influential movements. And as Candace Owens stands her ground against the very empire she helped grow, fans are left wondering, is this the end of an alliance or the beginning of a revolution? Under the harsh glow of the conference room lights, the air was so tense you could almost hear it hum. Candace sat at the far end of the glass table, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the executives who pretended not to look her way. It was the first board meeting since the rumors about Charlie Kirk's case had started to spread. And everyone knew this wasn't going to be business as usual. Charlie wasn't there yet, but his shadow filled the room. Every whispered word, every uneasy breath, it all revolved around him. "Candace, we just need to keep things contained," one of the PR heads said carefully. "Our donors are nervous, the press is watching, and the last thing we need is internal noise." Candace's laugh was short and cold. "Contained? Is that what you call it when you bury the truth?" she asked, her voice calm but sharp enough to slice through the silence. "You all act like I'm the problem, but you're sitting here protecting a man accused of betraying everything this organization claims to stand for." The room shifted. No one spoke. The hum of the air conditioner grew louder. Finally, one of the senior execs, a man named Rick, who'd always played the middle ground, cleared his throat. "Candace, this isn't about protection. It's about unity. We have to think about the bigger picture. TPUSA can't afford division right now." Her chair scraped against the floor as she stood. "Unity without accountability isn't unity," she snapped. "It's silence. And silence makes you complicit." Before anyone could respond, the door opened. Charlie Kirk walked in, smiling like a man used to being forgiven before he even spoke. He wore that same confident look that had charmed crowds for years, but tonight, his eyes didn't quite match his grin. He looked tired, cornered. Maybe. Still, his tone was smooth. "Candace," he said softly, almost like an old friend, "I heard you've got some concerns." She turned to face him fully, her expression unreadable. "Concerns," she repeated. "You could call them that. I'd call them truths you don't want to hear." He chuckled under his breath. "We've always handled things internally. There's no reason to turn this into a spectacle." "Internally," she said, "that's exactly the problem. Everything stays internal until it explodes. And then you act shocked. like it wasn't your own silence that lit the fuse. Charlie's smile faltered. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. The executives shifted uncomfortably, pretending to check their phones or shuffle papers. Candace took a step closer. Her voice lower now, steady but full of restrained anger. "You built this movement on speaking truth to power," she said. "But now you're the power. And the truth is, you've lost your moral ground." Rick tried to intervene again, his voice almost pleading. "Candace, maybe we should cool down and take this offline." "No," she interrupted. "You've all taken it offline for too long." Someone muttered her name under their breath, but she ignored it. The entire table sat frozen as she spoke. "You made people believe you were different. You made me believe it. And now, I see the same games, the same corruption, the same hypocrisy I fought against." Charlie's voice was calm, but his jaw tightened. "You're emotional right now," he said. "Let's not make this personal." She almost laughed. "Oh, it's very personal, Charlie. You talk about values while your team manipulates donations and hides behind God to excuse it. How much longer do you think that facade will last?" He took a deep breath. "You're talking about rumors, not facts." Candace tilted her head. "Then clear them up. Go live. Explain where the money went. Tell people why interns are told not to ask questions." The silence that followed was deafening. Outside the glass walls, a few staffers paused, pretending to pass by while listening in. The word had already spread that something big was happening inside. Charlie finally spoke, voice low. "You're trying to destroy everything we built together." "No," she replied. "I'm trying to save what's left of it." For a long time, no one moved. The sound of a pen dropping made a few people flinch. Then, without warning, Charlie pushed his chair back and stood. "If you're so sure about all this," he said, "then maybe you should leave. Maybe TPUSA isn't your place anymore." A few gasps broke the silence. Candace's expression didn't change. She simply looked at him, calm and unshaken. "Maybe it isn't," she said quietly, "but history won't forget who tried to silence me." And with that, she turned and walked out. The moment the door closed behind her, chaos erupted, voices overlapped, phones rang, and someone swore under their breath. "She's going to go public," one exec said, panic rising in his tone. "If she talks, this whole place burns." Rick rubbed his forehead. "Then someone better talk to her before she does." But no one volunteered. Outside, Candace stood alone in the parking lot, the desert wind whipping her hair across her face. She could feel her pulse still racing, but beneath the anger was something else, a kind of clarity she hadn't felt in years. She unlocked her car and sat inside, gripping the steering wheel. Her phone buzzed with notifications, texts from journalists, missed calls from friends, messages from fans asking what happened. She didn't answer any of them. She just sat there, staring at the dashboard, replaying every word that had been said. Then she whispered to herself, almost like a vow, "No more silence." The next morning, her name was trending across every major platform. Headlines shouted Candace Owens versus TPUSA, explosive confrontation with Charlie Kirk, an insider feud divides movement. Clips from old interviews resurfaced, twisting her words into ammunition for both sides. Fans argued online, some praising her courage, others calling her disloyal. Inside TPUSA, damage control was already underway. Press statements were drafted, emails were sent, and Charlie's team started planning a response video. Still, the one thing they couldn't control was Candace's next move. And it came faster than anyone expected. That evening, she went live. Number notes. No makeup team. No studio lights, just her sitting in her home office. Eyes fierce, voice steady. "I've been told to stay quiet," she began. "I've been told to think about my career, my partnerships, my reputation. But what's the point of all that if you lose your integrity?" Thousands watched in real time. Her live chat filled with fire emojis, heart emojis, and angry comments from both supporters and critics. "I gave my heart to this movement," she continued. "But when truth started to hurt certain people, suddenly I became the enemy. I won't play that game anymore. Not for anyone." A pause. She looked down for a second, then back up at the camera. "They're protecting someone who thinks he's untouchable. And maybe he wasn't till now." The comment section exploded. The phrase "untenable empire" began trending after a viewer typed it in all caps, quoting her exact words. By the next morning, every podcast, news outlet, and influencer on the right and left was talking about her. TPUSA issued a vague statement about internal disagreements, but it only fueled the fire. People wanted the truth, and Candace had promised to give it. As the sun rose over Arizona, The battle lines were drawn. She had no team, no backing, no official network. But what she did have was her voice and millions of people who were finally listening. And somewhere inside that sleek TPUSA office, Charlie Kirk sat behind his desk, scrolling through the headlines with a clenched jaw. Realizing for the first time that Candace Owens wasn't just speaking out, she was declaring war. Charlie didn't sleep that night. The soft blue light from his phone screen glowed against his face as headline after headline painted him as the villain. Candace Owens exposes TPUSA cover-up. Fans demand Charlie Kirk's resignation. Conservative civil war erupts. The comments were merciless. People he'd known for years were tagging him, questioning his integrity, and demanding answers. He tossed the phone aside, rubbed his temples, and muttered, "She thinks she can win this." His voice was low, bitter. She doesn't know what she started. By morning, TPUSA headquarters was under siege from reporters. The lobby filled with flashing cameras and shouting voices. Interns who usually fetched coffee were now dodging microphones. A security guard muttered into his radio, trying to keep the crowd out. Inside, the executives sat in a crisis meeting, each more nervous than the last. "We can't let this spiral," Rick said, pacing the room. "We need a statement, something calm. Something that makes us look stable." Charlie leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowed. "No," he said quietly. "We're not going to play defense. We're going to fight back." The others exchanged uneasy glances. "How?" one of them asked. He turned his phone toward them, showing a paused clip from Candace's live stream. "She wants to make this personal." "Fine. Let's make it personal." The team hesitated. "You're not thinking of I'm thinking of showing people who she really is," he interrupted. "Every complaint, every outburst, every recording from behind the scenes. She wants transparency. She'll get it." Meanwhile, Candace sat at her kitchen counter, scrolling through the reactions to her video. Her inbox was full of messages, some from supporters, others from people warning her to stop. One message stood out. It was from an old friend inside The text read, "They're planning to leak things. Be ready." She exhaled slowly, her jaw tightening. "Of course they are," she whispered. Later that day, the first leak appeared. An edited clip from a private staff meeting showed Candace raising her voice, frustrated over content direction. The caption read, "Candace loses it behind the scenes." The video spread fast, shared by accounts loyal to TPUSA's leadership. She watched it play out online.com at first, then furious. "They're twisting everything," she said aloud. "They think they can paint me as unstable." She opened her laptop and hit record again. Her tone this time was sharper, colder. "So this is how they respond," she said into the camera. "They can't refute what I said, so they dig through old footage and call it proof. Let me be very clear, this isn't about temper, it's about truth." Fans flooded the chat with support. "We believe you. Keep going. Don't let them silence you." Within minutes, the hashtag Candace vs Charlie started trending worldwide. Inside TPUSA, panic set in again. "It's backfiring," one staffer whispered. "Every time we hit her, she hits harder." Charlie slammed his fist on the table. "Then we'll go bigger. She wants war. She'll get it." But privately, he was rattled. Old text messages had started surfacing, screenshots that hinted at misused donor money and favoritism within the organization. No one knew where they came from, but they carried his name. He stared at the images on his phone, realizing someone close had betrayed him. By midnight, his phone buzzed with a call from his lawyer. "You need to go quiet," the lawyer said flatly. "Deny nothing, confirm nothing. Don't post, don't speak. This is already spiraling out of control. If I stay quiet, she wins," Charlie muttered. "If you speak now," the lawyer warned, "you could lose everything." Charlie hung up, frustrated. He looked at his reflection in the window, his own face looking unfamiliar. For years, he'd been the untouchable face of young conservatism. Now he was the man being accused, mocked, and dissected by millions. Meanwhile, Candace received a call from someone she hadn't spoken to in months, insider named Claire, who had recently left TPUSA. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Candace, there's more. The money issue, it's real. I have proof." Candace sat up straight. "What kind of proof?" "Emails, receipts, internal memos," Claire said. "They redirected donor funds to a private consulting firm owned by one of Charlie's friends. It's all in writing." Candace closed her eyes for a second, steadying herself. "Send me everything." Within hours, her inbox filled with file screenshots, invoices, and confidential correspondence. She opened one email chain and froze. It was between Charlie and two top executives discussing how to mask discretionary spending to avoid press questions. Her heart pounded. "This is it," she whispered. "This is the crack they can't cover." By the next morning, She went live again, this time with documents displayed on screen. They said I was emotional, she told her audience. They said I made it personal, but now you can see the truth for yourself. She clicked through the evidence one by one. Viewers gasped in the comments. Journalists began joining the stream. Screenshots of her broadcast flooded Twitter. Charlie's team went silent. Rick called him in a panic. She's got the files. How did she get them? Charlie's voice was low and hollow. Someone from inside gave them to her. We're finished, Rick whispered. If she has those emails, it's over. For the first time, Charlie didn't argue. He just stared at his desk, silent. By nightfall, major networks had picked up the story. Headlines shouted corruption, betrayal, and cover-ups. Right-wing media tried to defend TPUSA, while mainstream outlets tore it apart. Candace's live stream surpassed 10 million views. People began calling her a whistleblower, a traitor, a hero all at once. But in private, Candace sat alone, scrolling through her messages again. Among the flood of praise were threats anonymous, some from burner accounts. You don't know who you're dealing with, one said. Back off before it's too late. She put her phone face down and stared at the wall. The fight she'd started was no longer about a single argument. It was now something deeper, more dangerous. The movement she once believed in had turned into a battlefield, and the cost of truth was beginning to feel higher than she'd ever imagined. As midnight approached, she whispered to herself, "They're not done fighting, but neither am I." And somewhere across town, in a dark office lit only by a laptop screen, Charlie Kirk leaned forward and said quietly to his team, "If she wants to play with fire, we'll see who burns first." Under the fluorescent buzz of TPUSA's Phoenix headquarters, the air felt heavier than usual. Staffers moved quietly, whispering to one another as the sound of Candace's heels echoed down the hall. No one dared to meet her eyes. They all knew something had gone terribly wrong. For weeks, rumors had been spreading about a rift between Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk, the golden duo who once symbolized unity and purpose in the conservative world. But that morning, everything snapped. Candace had arrived, unannounced, dressed sharply in black, her phone in hand, her face unreadable. She wasn't here to talk politics. She was here for answers. Inside the boardroom, Charlie Kirk sat at the head of the long table. Surrounded by senior executives. Papers were scattered across the polished surface, legal letters, internal memos, maybe even contracts that no one wanted to read out loud. When Candace pushed open the door, the sound made everyone freeze. She didn't wait for permission. She walked straight to the end of the table and said, "You've been lying to me." No greeting, no pleasantries, just a raw accusation that sliced through the air. The executives exchanged quick glances, and Charlie's jaw tightened. "Candace," he began carefully, "you need to calm down. This isn't the place." But she interrupted, her voice sharp. "Don't tell me to calm down. Not after what you've done." The confrontation was quiet at first, almost controlled, but the tension was visible. Candace laid her phone on the table and hit play. A recording began, Charlie's voice, low but clear, from a private meeting she hadn't been invited to. He was talking about her. "She's unpredictable," he had said. "We might have to phase her out before she takes the brand down with her." Gasps filled the room. One of the female execs covered her mouth, eyes wide. Charlie looked stunned. "Where did you get that?" he demanded, but Candace only smiled coldly. "You should know better than to underestimate someone who's been underestimated her entire life." What followed was an explosion. Voices overlapping, chairs scraping against the floor, executives trying to de-escalate as Candace and Charlie's argument spiraled. He accused her of taking things out of context. She accused him of betrayal. "I gave everything to this organization," she shouted. "My face, my voice, my reputation. And you sit here plotting how to erase me." Charlie's composure cracked. "You've been out of control for months, Candace. You go off script. You alienate donors. You make enemies of our allies. This isn't personal. It's business." She laughed bitterly. "Business? You mean control? You don't like strong women who speak without your permission." By noon, word of the confrontation had leaked. Someone inside the building had recorded snippets of the argument and sent them to a conservative blogger, who uploaded it under the headline "Candace Owens explodes on TPUSA leadership." Within hours, it went viral. The clip showed her standing over the table, pointing at Charlie, saying, "This is how corruption hides behind people who smile while they stab you." Fans flooded social media with comments. Some called her a hero, others said she had finally lost it. But either way, everyone was watching. That night, Candace posted a cryptic tweet, "Truth always finds its voice." She didn't mention names, but she didn't have to. Within minutes, The replies exploded with speculation. Hashtag Charlie Kirk trended alongside hashtag Candace Owens. Conservative influencers started picking sides. One of Charlie's longtime allies, an executive named Greg Harmon, tweeted, "Some people forget who gave them their platform." Candace responded directly, "Some people forget integrity when money's involved." The digital crossfire had begun, and neither side was backing down. Behind the scenes, TPUSA executives held an emergency meeting to contain the damage. Statements were drafted, lawyers consulted, and crisis teams activated. But the problem was bigger than they expected, because this wasn't just about workplace conflict. Rumors began surfacing that Candace had documents showing financial inconsistencies. Inside PUSA, emails, contracts, maybe even donor communications that contradicted public claims. One anonymous insider told an online outlet, "If she releases what she has, this organization won't survive the week." Meanwhile, Charlie went on his podcast the next morning, trying to stay calm. He told his audience that certain personalities had become more interested in self-promotion than teamwork, and that PUSA remains committed to integrity. It sounded rehearsed, and fans noticed. The comment section was ruthless. One user wrote, "If you have to talk about integrity this much, maybe you lost it." Another said, "Candace warned us. Now we know why." Candace, however, wasn't done. Later that day, she appeared live on a rival show, sitting across from a host who wasted no time. "Candace," the host said, "what really happened between you and TPUSA?" She took a deep breath, eyes steady. "What happened?" she said slowly. "Is that people who preach freedom didn't like it when I used mine." She paused for effect. "They talk about truth, but the minute that truth threatens their comfort, they call it disloyalty." Her words hit like a hammer. Throughout the segment, Candace hinted that the Charlie Kirk case wasn't just about power, it was about hypocrisy. About how big donors and political branding had replaced real values. "They want soldiers, not thinkers," she said, "but I wasn't built to take orders." By the time the show ended, clips of her statements were trending everywhere. Her fan base rallied behind her, posting old videos of her speeches with captions like she was right all along. Even celebrities outside the political sphere began commenting. One actress tweeted, "Candace is messy, but she's fearless. I respect that." Charlie, on the other hand, was facing growing backlash. Insiders leaked that several staffers had quietly resigned that week, unwilling to get caught in the crossfire. Sponsors were calling, asking questions about the case and whether PUSA was about to implode. Internally, some executives began whispering that maybe Charlie had gone too far trying to control the narrative. One even said privately, "We underestimated her reach. She doesn't need us anymore." As the pressure built, Candace took it a step further. She uploaded a short video to her own platform, filmed in her living room. "No makeup, no script. They thought I was bluffing," she began softly. "They thought I'd walk away quietly. But if they can betray me, what does that say about how they treat the truth?" She leaned closer to the camera. "I have receipts." That 2-second line detonated the internet. Views skyrocketed, fans begged her to release the evidence, and journalists began circling like vultures. Even PUSA's legal team reportedly advised Charlie to consider negotiations before she escalates, but Candace had no interest in silence anymore. To her, this wasn't just professional betrayal, it was personal. She had trusted Charlie, defended him, believed in his mission. And now, seeing how quickly he'd turned on her, something inside her snapped. She started reaching out to former staffers who'd left the organization under strange circumstances. They began sharing their stories, unpaid bonuses, pressure to stay quiet about donors, secret meetings about content strategy. Within days, Candace had compiled a dossier. According to those close to her, she planned to release it in stages, to let the truth bleed out slowly. The following Friday, during a live event in Nashville, Charlie walked on stage to a half-hearted applause. Some audience members were holding signs, not of support, but of protest. One sign read, "Where's the truth, Charlie?" He tried to ignore it, delivering his speech as usual, but his voice trembled slightly. Afterward, backstage sources said he slammed his water bottle against the wall and yelled, "She's destroying everything." And maybe she was, because while Charlie tried to salvage his empire, Candace had already moved to the next phase. She wasn't just defending herself anymore. She was leading a rebellion. Former employees, disillusioned fans, and independent creators began joining her movement online. They called it the Truth Project, a symbolic stand against corruption in conservative circles. Within 72 hours, it gained over 1 million followers. TPUSA's social media engagement dropped sharply. For the first time, the student movement that once dominated college campuses was losing its audience not to a rival organization, but to one of its own creators. And somewhere in the middle of that chaos, Candace sat quietly in her home office, watching the storm unfold on her screen. Friends said she wasn't celebrating. She looked tired, thoughtful, almost sad. She didn't want it to come to this, one of them told a reporter. But once you see what's behind the curtain, you can't pretend anymore. The truth was out, and there was no going back. The war between Candace Owens and TPUSA had begun, and the first blow had already landed harder than anyone expected. The morning after Candace's explosive revelations, the conservative media world was in absolute disarray. Podcasts, blogs, and talk shows spent their entire day dissecting every second of the leaked confrontation and the mysterious phrase she had dropped. "I have receipts." Even political rivals who usually ignored her were tuning in, curious to see how deep this rabbit hole went. TPUSA's official accounts stayed silent, and that silence only made things worse. Fans took it as guilt. The organization's headquarters in Arizona looked like a bunker under siege. Security tightened. Executives arriving in tinted SUVs, and staffers being told to avoid all press contact. Inside the building, tension was unbearable. Kirk had called an emergency meeting with the remaining leadership team. One executive, nervous and pale, asked whether they should release a public statement denying Candace's claims. Charlie snapped, "No, we're not reacting to her circus." But even he knew the storm was out of his control. Emails were coming in non-stop from donors demanding clarification. One major contributor reportedly froze a six-figure payment until TPUSA could prove their internal integrity. That phrase stung, because behind the scenes, integrity was the one thing now in question. Candace, meanwhile, was moving with precision. She uploaded part 1 of her Promised Truth series, a 30-minute monologue filmed against a plain backdrop. Her tone was calm, almost surgical, as she detailed what she described as the quiet corruption inside the House of Mirrors. She didn't show documents yet, but she named incidents, projects that were publicly presented as student-led but secretly funded by undisclosed sponsors, events staged to promote certain political figures in exchange for donations, and inflated audience statistics used to lure new investors. "You thought the left had monopolized manipulation," she said, voice steady. "Take a closer look at your own side." That line sent shockwaves through the conservative community. Suddenly, TPUSA's credibility was under question not only from outsiders but from within their base. Prominent creators who had once partnered with TPUSA began deleting old collaborations. Some even issued subtle statements about reassessing our affiliations. The domino effect had begun. Charlie responded the next day during a live-streamed appearance on a partner network. His voice was firm, but his eyes betrayed exhaustion. "I won't let slander destroy what we've built," he said. "Some people are chasing clicks, not truth. I've always believed in integrity and loyalty, even when others forget what those words mean." His supporters cheered in the comments, but the opposition was louder. "Show us the proof, not speeches," one viewer wrote. "Candace has nothing to gain by lying," another replied. The chat turned into chaos. And then, just when everyone thought the noise might die down, Candace dropped part 2. This time, she came with evidence, emails between executives discussing how to manage her growing influence. One message from a senior figure read, "If we can shift her off main panels, she'll lose momentum. Audiences follow visibility." Candace scrolled through the screenshots slowly, letting viewers read every line. "They didn't just want to control me," she said softly. "They wanted to erase me." The internet exploded. Her video hit 1 million views in under 4 hours. Influencers, journalists, and even rival networks reposted the clips, framing her as a whistleblower who had taken down her own empire. Back at TPUSA headquarters, panic set in. Lawyers huddled in conference rooms, discussing defamation claims and cease-and-desist letters. One intern reportedly overheard Charlie shouting through the walls, "She's burning everything down for attention." But others weren't so sure. Some senior staffers began quietly reaching out to Candace's team, offering information in exchange for anonymity. They claimed the organization had buried data, manipulated analytics, and created false impressions of outreach success to keep donors happy. The deeper Candace dug, the uglier it looked. At the same time, fans were torn. TPUSA loyalists accused her of betrayal, calling her the conservative Meghan Markle, but a growing number of voices defended her courage. A viral comment read, "Candace isn't destroying the movement, she's cleaning it." Even major political commentators started weighing in, debating whether TPUSA's brand had outgrown its principles. It wasn't just a scandal anymore. It was a philosophical war about authenticity versus image. And through it all, Candace stayed eerily calm. She continued posting not rants, but measured reflections. "You don't expose corruption because you hate the system," she wrote one night. "You expose it because you love the truth more than comfort." That line alone was shared over 50,000 times. Meanwhile, Charlie's usual podcast numbers started to drop. For the first time in years, his comment sections were filled with criticism instead of applause. "Answer her," people wrote. "If you're innocent, prove it." The next major twist came during a closed-door meeting between Charlie and a few longtime board members. One of them, an older man who had supported TPUSA from its earliest days, leaned forward and said quietly, "Charlie, this isn't going away. We have to talk to her." Charlie refused at first, insisting that Candace wanted chaos, not resolution. But the pressure from donors was relentless. Within hours, his phone lit up with a message from an anonymous number. It simply read, "You should have listened sooner." Attached was a single photo, a copy of an internal financial report marked confidential. No one outside the board was supposed to have that. Charlie froze. Someone inside had turned. Someone was feeding her more than rumors. He slammed his phone down, realizing too late that the battle was no longer just between him and Candace, it was now within his own ranks. As he looked around the room, he saw uncertainty in every face. Loyalty was dissolving fast. By that evening, Candace had hinted that part 3 of her series would be the one they never wanted you to see. Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram went wild. Speculation ran rampant. Fans theorized about what she might reveal next. Financial fraud, hidden donors, even alleged political manipulation. TPUSA tried to stay silent, but leaks continued to flow. Screenshots of internal group chats surfaced, showing executives panicking, calling her dangerous and unhinged. But instead of damaging her image, it only made her seem more fearless. Then came the biggest shock yet. A reporter from a major outlet claimed to have seen portions of the unreleased files Candace had obtained. According to him, the documents contained references to undisclosed agreements between TPUSA and private political consultants, deals that contradicted the organization's stated independence. When the story broke, TPUSA's legal team went into overdrive, issuing public denials and threatening lawsuits. But the damage was done. Once the media smelled blood, they weren't letting go. Candace, however, remained strategic. Instead of dropping everything at once, she began releasing short, timed clips, each one more damaging than the last. Every night, new evidence surfaced, new insiders spoke, and the movement that once seemed untouchable started to crumble. Her tone grew more emotional, too. "This isn't revenge," she said in one clip. "This is accountability. And if that makes people uncomfortable, so be it." The comments section filled with applause, emojis, and hearts. She had become both the villain and the hero, depending on who you asked. Behind the chaos, there was still a lingering question no one could answer. What exactly had happened between Candace and Charlie on the night before everything began? Insiders whispered about a private dinner meeting gone wrong, a confrontation over power, control, and trust. Some said Charlie had tried to persuade her to sign a confidentiality agreement. Others claimed he'd issued veiled threats. Candace never confirmed or denied it, but her silence spoke volumes. As the second week of the feud unfolded, TPUSA sponsors began withdrawing quietly. Upcoming events were postponed without explanation. Key staff members vanished from the organization's directory. It was clear that Candace's campaign had done irreversible damage. And yet, despite the chaos, she still ended every broadcast with the same calm smile and the same sentence: "Truth doesn't fear exposure." The stage was now set for part 3. The moment when Candace would finally reveal the full truth about the Charlie Kirk case. And if her tone was any indication, what she was about to share wouldn't just change TPUSA, it could bring the entire movement to its knees. As the sun set over Nashville that Friday evening, millions of viewers were already waiting for Candace's promised part 3. The internet felt electric, like the countdown before a bomb went off. She had teased it earlier that morning with a single post that read, "Tonight, silence will break." No hashtags, no tags, no captions, just those 4 words. And that was enough to send every outlet scrambling. YouTube, Rumble, Twitter Spaces, all flooded with anticipation. Her name dominated every trending list across the country. By the time the video went live, over 200,000 people were already watching in real time. Candace appeared on screen, her face illuminated only by the soft glow of her laptop. She didn't smile. She didn't even blink for the first few seconds. She just stared into the camera, letting the silence speak louder than words. Then, in a calm voice, she said, "I gave them every chance to tell the truth. They chose silence. Now, I'll choose honesty. The next hour shattered the internet. Candace began reading from internal memos, donor agreements, and financial reports allegedly pulled from TPUSA's archives. She revealed that several high-profile sponsors had demanded policy positions in exchange for funding, a direct contradiction of TPUSA's public statements claiming total independence. One of the memos even included Charlie's initials beside a line that read, "Donor influence, manageable, maintain narrative control." The audience went wild. The chat flooded with comments like, "Exposed," "She wasn't lying," and "This changes everything." As she spoke, she played audio clips that left no room for denial. In one, an executive's voice said, "Candace is too unpredictable to keep close. She could blow the whole thing if she finds out." Another recording captured a tense discussion about media manipulation strategies designed to boost engagement through outrage rather than education. Candace paused after playing it, her expression filled with disbelief. "And these are the people preaching about values," she said softly. "This is what your donations really fund, theater." Meanwhile, inside TPUSA headquarters, pandemonium erupted. Staffers watched the broadcast in stunned silence. Charlie, pacing back and forth in his office, refused to look at the screen. One aide said he kept repeating the same phrase under his breath. "She doesn't have all of it. She can't have all of it." But by the time Candace showed the last set of documents, it was clear she did everything. Donations, deals, internal communication, a digital skeleton of an empire built on image, not integrity. The fallout was immediate. Journalists flooded the organization's press line demanding statements. Longtime donors publicly distanced themselves. Political allies deleted tweets and scrubbed photos with Charlie from their feeds. Within 24 hours, 3 major conservative influencers issued statements supporting Candace, saying her courage exposed the rot that's been ignored too long. Others, however, accused her of betrayal, claiming she was tearing down the movement for attention. Charlie finally broke his silence with a trembling, late-night live stream. His voice was calm at first, but his frustration soon boiled over. "This is coordinated character assassination," he said. "She's manipulating the narrative. She took private data illegally. She's lying." But when reporters pressed him for proof, he had none. Worse, a former staffer came forward minutes later to confirm parts of Candace's claims, saying, "She's not exaggerating. We all saw it." The clip went viral, and for the first time, Charlie's credibility began to crumble publicly. Candace stayed quiet for 2 days after that, letting the dust settle. It was a strategic silence, and it worked. During that time, major outlets began running deep dive exposes titled "Inside the TPUSA Scandal" and "Candace versus the Conservative Machine." One magazine described it as the biggest political implosion since Watergate. Behind the scenes, Charlie's team tried to reach out privately to negotiate. According to leaked text messages, one of his representatives messaged Candace's assistant, saying, "Can we end this quietly? Name your conditions." Her alleged response was simple: "Truth isn't for sale." That one sentence spread like wildfire, becoming a viral slogan among her supporters. People printed it on shirts, banners, and profile bios. In the following week, Candace agreed to appear on a major talk show not to defend herself, but to clarify the record. The host, known for his hard-hitting questions, didn't hold back. "Candace, do you realize how many careers you've ended with this?" She looked straight into the camera and replied, "I didn't end them. They ended themselves the moment they forgot what they stood for." The audience erupted into applause. The clip hit 20 million views in under 48 hours. Charlie, meanwhile, was unraveling. Reports surfaced that several executives had resigned, citing ethical conflicts. Leaked memos revealed sponsors pulling their funds, leaving the organization on the brink of collapse. In one particularly damning revelation, it was found that TPUSA had misused donor funds for executive retreats at luxury resorts. When asked about it, Charlie claimed it was strategic networking, but few believed him. Candace then released a final document that changed everything: a signed statement showing that Charlie had personally approved the redirection of funds intended for youth programs toward private consulting fees. "This," she said during her live stream, "is where the story ends. But the consequences are just beginning." The screen faded to black with one final line: "The truth doesn't expire." The response was explosive. Within hours, multiple news agencies picked up the story. Political commentators declared it the collapse of a conservative powerhouse. Social media was flooded with clips of Candace's videos, memes mocking Charli, and fan-made edits comparing her to a political avenger. Even those who had once criticized her admitted that she had just pulled off the most shocking exposé in modern conservative media. But beneath the celebration, something deeper was shifting. Fans began questioning everything they thought they knew about the movement. Tweets appeared saying, "If they lied about this, what else are they hiding?" Old speeches, fundraising drives, and policy stances were suddenly under scrutiny. Charli's name became synonymous with hypocrisy, while Candace's reputation transformed from controversial to revolutionary. And just when everyone thought it couldn't get more dramatic, an anonymous source leaked a private recording from weeks earlier, a call between Charli and a close associate. In it, Charli's voice trembled as he said, "She's dangerous because she knows too much." That one sentence went viral instantly. The hashtag she knows too much flooded every platform. It became the rallying cry of Candace's supporters and the final nail in TPUSA's coffin. Late that night, in a quiet Instagram post, Candace uploaded a single image, a burning match against a dark background. The caption read, "Sometimes, fire cleanses." She didn't need to say more. Everyone understood what she meant. The truth had burned through the lies, and there was no rebuilding what once was. Charli reportedly went underground for weeks after that, canceling appearances and halting his podcast. TPUSA's official statement came 3 days later, a brief corporate message that read, "We are restructuring our organization and addressing recent concerns." It sounded hollow. The comments were brutal. One user wrote, "Restructuring your reputation will take a lifetime." Another said, "Candace didn't destroy you. She revealed you." And while the conservative world reeled from the fallout, Candace's following tripled overnight. Every live stream she hosted hit record numbers. Every post she shared went viral. And every time someone tried to discredit her, the internet answered back louder. "We saw the proof." As reporters gathered outside her home days later, hoping for another statement, Candace finally stepped out, calm and composed. A journalist shouted, "Candace, what's next?" She smiled faintly. "What's next?" She smiled faintly, and said, "The truth doesn't end with me. This is only the beginning." And with that, she walked away from the cameras, leaving behind the ruins of an empire and the echo of a single, unforgettable line. A reminder that no matter how powerful an organization may seem, one voice, when fueled by truth and conviction, can bring it all crashing down. And as the dust settles on this firestorm between Candace Owens and TPUSA, one thing is clear: nothing in conservative media will ever be the same again. What started as a behind-the-scenes feud has now exploded into a public reckoning, leaving fans, allies, and even political insiders questioning who's truly in control. Some say Candace went too far. Others believe she simply exposed the truth everyone else was too afraid to say out loud. But whether you see her as a hero or a villain, no one can deny that she just shook the entire foundation of TPUSA and the Charli Kirk empire to its core. Even now, social media is flooded with reaction videos, fan breakdowns, and wild theories about what's really going on behind closed doors. People are dissecting every tweet, every look, every interview moment, trying to figure out if there's more to this story than meets the eye. Because in the world of power, politics, and fame, nothing is ever as simple as it seems. Rumors are swirling that TPUSA insiders are preparing to release their own side of the story. And word has it, it's going to get ugly. Meanwhile, sources close to Candace claim she's sitting on receipts that could end several careers overnight. What could she possibly have that's big enough to make the top brass at TPUSA panic? Maybe it's proof of what really happened in those private meetings. Maybe it's something that connects Charli Kirk's case to people far more powerful than anyone suspected. Or maybe, just maybe, this isn't over at all. Fans have been relentless online, flooding Candace's posts with messages of support, while others accuse her of betrayal and attempt. And then there's the silent crowd, the ones who aren't saying a word, but are watching every move with growing fascination. They know this isn't just a simple fallout. This is a battle for dominance, for influence, for control of the narrative. And when people like Candace Owens and Charli Kirk are involved, you can bet every moment will be dissected, debated, and replayed across every corner of the internet. So what happens next? Will TPUSA survive the backlash? Or is this the beginning of its unraveling? Will Candace stand alone? Or will others come forward to back her up and expose what's been happening behind the scenes? The tension is thick, the alliances are shifting, and the stakes have never been higher. We've seen political drama before, but this feels personal. This feels like something that's been building for years, waiting for the perfect moment to erupt. And now that it has, there's no turning back. Whatever side you're on, one thing is certain: you won't want to miss what comes next. So if you've been following this wild ride, now's the time to make your voice heard. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Candace was right to speak out? Or do you believe TPUSA had every reason to push back? Let's see where you stand, because this story is far from finished. Hit that like button if you're as stunned as the rest of us. And don't forget to subscribe for more breaking updates as this saga unfolds. We'll be watching every new twist, every reaction, every move they make because, in the world of politics and power, truth has a way of revealing itself when you least expect it. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next, because something tells me this is just the beginning. Stay tuned, stay alert, and get ready because the next chapter of this chaos is about to explode.